Now, the day's top business news. Brian Quinn, he's a prodigy as well. He's starting with what is shaping up to be a big day for the entertainment industry. A Hollywood mega merger is gathering speed.
Stuart, shareholders in Warner Brothers are due to vote Thursday to approve or reject a takeover, a bid by rival Paramount Skydance. That bid widely expected to be approved. The struggling Warner Brothers put itself up for sale last year, kicking off a bidding war between Paramount and Netflix. And Netflix had for a time appeared to have come out on top with an $83 billion offer. That is until Paramount upped its bid to $110 billion at $31 a share. The deal has drawn significant pushback in Hollywood, with hundreds of big-name professionals signing an open letter opposing the deal, which will reduce the number of major U.S. film studios to just 4. One major concern is that Paramount could cut back on theatrical releases. Following its acquisition by Disney in 2019, 21st Century Fox Studios went from around 25 releases a year to 15 or less. Paramount owner David Ellison has vowed that Warner will continue to release at least 30 feature films per year. The company, though, is borrowing heavily to finance the deal, and some cinema owners are skeptical. Take a listen here.
With the amount of debt that this combined company is going to have, it's going to be an awful big challenge to service that amount and still be able to maintain the capital requirements, because it's necessary to have such an aggressive 30-film slate out there. We hope that they can do it.
Now, next, Washington says it's considering special help for its Middle Eastern allies who are suffering the economic effects on the war in Iran.
So U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent spoke to senators on Wednesday, seeking in part to justify the Trump administration's decision to lift sanctions on Russian oil amid turmoil on energy markets due to the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. That blockade has severely disrupted exports of oil and gas from Persian Gulf states, battering their export economies while at the same time sparking an energy crisis, particularly in Asia, which depends heavily on Middle Eastern oil. Bessent says a number of America's allies in the Gulf and Asia, including the UAE and South Korea, have sought to open currency swap lines with the U.S. Such lines provide liquidity for foreign countries to settle their dollar-denominated debts. The U.S., meanwhile, keen to maintain the dollar's dominance for settlement on key global markets, particularly oil, where Russia and China are seeking to create alternatives. Here's Scott Bessent.
Swap lines, whether it's from the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, are to maintain order in the dollar funding markets. So the swap line would both benefit the UAE and the U.S. And as I said, numerous other countries, including some of our Asian allies, have also requested them.
And speaking of the oil markets, how are they actually holding up so far today, Brian?
Crude prices, perhaps not unexpectedly, on the rise once again Thursday as the Strait of Hormuz remains blockaded. Both the U.S. and Iran intercepting tanker ships Wednesday. International benchmark Brent crude passing $103 a barrel, while its U.S. counterpart WTI is at nearly $94.50 a barrel. It's been a roller coaster day for Asian stock markets, meanwhile, as investors initially cheered by the extension of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire were then rattled by those tanker interceptions. Solid manufacturing data out of Japan, not enough to prop up the Nikkei as it lost around 0.75%. The Kospian Sol, though, managing to gain nearly a full percent. Here in Europe, major indexes opened lower as high oil prices weigh on market sentiment. The CAC 40 here in Paris down slightly. London and Frankfurt each off around 0.5% at the open.
Finally for business, it's shaping up to be rather a bumpy ride. This is for European air travel this summer.
Soaring jet fuel costs due to the Iran war are sending the aviation industry into a tailspin, with European airlines forced to cancel thousands of flights and hike ticket prices. Caitlin Brown and our colleagues at France Télévisions take a look at how the energy crisis is threatening to derail summer travel plans across the continent.
This is Hamburg Airport, nearly empty. With dozens of flights cancelled, this could be just a taste of what's in store for travellers this summer. Lufthansa airline is cancelling 20,000 flights to offset the soaring fuel prices, which have skyrocketed since the start of the Iran war.
These are routes I relied on for work or to visit friends, but now it's going to be difficult.
The German airline is cutting its least profitable routes, including the connection between Frankfurt and Stavanger, Norway. And they are not alone. all European airlines are being forced to adapt. In March, Volotea cancelled roughly 50 flights departing from Strasbourg. While Transavia and Air France haven't yet cut flights, they are raising their prices, with Air France now charging an extra €100 for a round-trip long-haul flight and an extra €10 for a medium-haul flight. This retiree felt the sting while trying to book a holiday for her family.
It had gone from 800 to 850 euros, then straight up to 1,500 in no time at all. That's outrageous. That's awful.
France has managed to avoid the worst of these cancellations so far due to their energy supply being more diversified.
Germany's supply chain was more reliant on a single source from the Middle East, whereas France has many more partners. So perhaps all these constraints have pushed them into the red quicker than us.
To avoid a disaster summer at airports, the European Union is now considering a mandate for member states to build up strategic jet fuel reserves.
Maybe time to start thinking about a walking vacation, Stuart.
Yes.
Just set out from Paris on foot, see how far you get.
Indeed, or take the train. That's the alternative, of course. Brian, thanks a lot. Brian Quinn there with the business news.